Welcome along to Find My Voice on the live show, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, as we talk to people who have found their voice to inspire you to find yours. And this week on the show, we are talking to Mr. Ash Parmar about people who have a whiskey business and create lots of exciting content with taste. Ash Parmar, welcome to Find My Voice.
Hey, thanks for having me, John.
Ash, I always like to start. Tell us three things about you that perhaps the audience doesn't know.
I think this one might shock people. I've been selling alcohol all my adult life, but I actually despise drunk people. I can't handle them. I'm allergic to them. Obviously, the second part of my business is hosting corporate tastings or public tastings, whatever. And I can't handle drunk people because I conduct myself a little bit differently after I've had a few drinks, which is disappearing. I'm not the obnoxious kind. So yeah, can't handle drunk people. Number two, probably, I don't know. I mean, some people might think I'm drinking whiskey continuously, but I'm not. In the last 10 days, I've drunk red wine. I've drunk cognac-based cocktails. I've, had white wine as well. So people might think I just wake up every morning and I just start guzzling whiskey, but that doesn't happen because whiskey for me is for flavors and smells. And that's why I probably don't review much whiskey lately because I just don't have the time to do it properly. And number three, probably, I can't think of a number three, John. I think those are the two.
Oh, come on, Jack. Come on, Ash. Whereabouts in India were you born?
So I was born and raised in New Delhi, and in the capital of India, and we moved here in 2001 when I was 17. I can go back to the number three. Sorry.
Oh, good boy.
When people like yourselves tell me I don't like whiskey, and I think to myself, challenge accepted.
And we will have that challenge accepted because when Ash heard that he was I'd like Ash to be on the live this week. We have a little tasting experience coming up later in the show, much to all of Ash's whiskey mates would just want to see my face when we have a little sip. But let's talk content to start off with. So I remember interviewing you on a podcast in 2018, kind of when I sort of started doing my video stuff. And I remember you saying to me that you started that was probably around the time that you started at 8 p.m. And you knew that you needed to do video and you chose to do Facebook Lives. Can you talk us through that time and what you were doing and what was the kind of result that you were doing on those Facebook Lives?
So in 2017, November 1st, we started the website, Event Live, but I didn't know what to do. Glenn told me start a website, and I did, but no one came. But then someone said, oh, why don't you make a Facebook page? And we did, and again, no one came. I was putting posts up, look at this, blah, blah, blah. But then I kind of looked back to why I sort of went down this journey, which was by looking at YouTube reviews of my heroes, and I kind of thought I'll start doing it. So I started doing Monday night, 8 p.m. live videos, which was it had its own following. There was day one when no one was watching, but slowly it started to build up. And they were really icky. I mean, if you could look up some of those videos, they were very, very poor. I was balancing my smartphone on some books or some toys for my kids, and then I'm sitting on this sort of throne, and you can sort of see up my shorts. It's just it was not good. But people were watching because I remember going to a wine show where there's some spirits involved, and someone who is a big direct competitor of us now, he walked up to me with a smartphone and he go, "Are you this guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So I didn't know who that guy was at the time, but I'll see him at industry events. I know he is a competitor. So in a way, they say, if your competitors are noticing you, that's always a good thing.
It is. And I remember you saying to me that you did how many lives? I don't know. And basically no one was turning up to those lives. It was just, but you kept going. What was that motivation to keep going?
I think it was my understanding because there is content even I was consuming back then. That was 4 years ago, and live was a newish thing back then. But I kind of came to a realization they might not be necessarily watching it live. It's like this today. People might not watch it live, but they will watch it later. When they have the time, they will go, okay, well, Ash and John had a chat. I wonder what they were talking about. So I don't think people should get disappointed. No one's watching in the moment, because they could be doing a million things right now. They could be driving and they can't join. But a lot of the videos I did put, you sort of log back in the morning and it goes, it's got 29 views. And I go, wow, okay, 29 people took the time to listen. Yeah.
And how long did you kind of do those lives for until you found there was a tipping point, or I don't know, 100 people would watch the live, and then another 300 people would watch the replay? How many lives did you do to kind of get to that kind of peak point that people started to reciprocate?
To be honest, I mean, I'm a bit loose on the timeline, but in terms of in end of 2017, we started it. Yep. And in 2018, March, I went to Scotland for the first time to educate myself. Yep. And I kind of have a feeling it was after that, because what was happening before, John, is I was picking up bottles, I was drinking them, and talking about them, but I didn't really have any stories. And I guess that's why I was so desperate to go to Scotland. And it was like a switch. I came back from Scotland and had all these stories to tell, things I could relate to. And I think maybe the storytelling got a bit better as I got experience. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And in terms of your there was a time I remember, and this probably would have been 2019, I would say, you obviously went down the live route, and then you started doing a lot of, ordinary posts around written imagery posts, and that's what you're still doing, but you were doing like four a day. Was that overkill? Was it? What was the response from the audience by doing that many posts on LinkedIn a day?
I think like LinkedIn it's a weird one. It's like someone comes along and says, "Hey, you should try this," and I go, "Okay, I'll give it a go." So I remember at the time someone said, "Hey, you should be doing your posts in a way that you're feeding for other markets," which I kind of came to the realization I have no interest in anyone other than Australia, maybe for now, in terms of trying to influence. Which I guess is working, because I'm doing my first ever virtual tasting for an Australian company. But the 4 posts, that worked for a while, but then I kind of saw the engagement dropped dramatically. So now I've switched to either not posting at all if I have nothing smart to say or nothing interesting to say. So I'll go through 2-3 days of not posting at all. And otherwise posting during those key times, which is sort of that 8 to 10 a.m. in the mornings, and as close to 5 p.m., I guess, as people are switching off work and they're kind of just looking for things to read or watch. And I don't think I've done a video on LinkedIn on a very, very long time. Maybe since this time last year, I don't recall doing a video. But switching to, again, as someone's instance, that writing those long posts and engaging the people that way.
Gotcha. And I guess from a business angle, let's not forget that we're writing posts to take people to the next step, which for you was obviously either come to the shop, or it's to go to the website, or to join your inner circle, I guess. Did it have its desired result, as in creating those pieces of content on LinkedIn, etc.? Was it building your audience?
Yeah, I would think so, but I don't keep my content, as you can see. I keep it real, man.
Absolutely.
I had the pleasure of meeting Richard Briggs. He's the Hamilton City Council CEO, who I've been talking to for some time, but met for the first time yesterday. And he said to me, I did a post probably about a month ago. I'm sitting outside my shop, smoking a cigar, and just pouring my heart out how just unhappy I was at the situation. And I don't see many people saying that. I see people putting on a face. I know you keep it real, and I rang you, I think, last week, because I could see something in the post as I thought maybe John's up to something, or he seemed just a bit off. So I better ring him and just check on him, because I care for you, obviously, and we have our own little tribe that we do that for. But yeah, like for me, I don't necessarily. And here's a fun fact for you: I will post a picture about reviewing a $2,000 bottle of whiskey, and it gets 9 likes, a few comments. I get some people get happy, But recently, I've been talking about immigration because I am a migrant, and I'm talking about it on LinkedIn. And that post went just mental. And there's all these people latching on to my thoughts, thinking, I agree with what you're saying because I'm a small business owner. I'm having same issues. But to wrap it all up, that has a flow-on effect for sales because they go, here's a guy, he's kind of real. He is doing what I think as well. And he's in the business of selling alcohol. I'll trust him to, recommend something
Look, I think
yeah.
You know, we've had this conversation with the likes of Glenn Marvin a number of times. Ultimately, people are buying people, right? So, yes, you can go and put images of whiskey all over LinkedIn, but ultimately, it's 8 p.m. It's Ash Parmar behind 8 p.m. and you want to be thought of you rather than just buy this particular whiskey. What do you think was your biggest hurdle?
I think the biggest hurdle which remains for me, is it's a blessing it's an online store, and it's a curse it's an online store, because this society still runs on, I want it now. I want to click, and I want, Uber's kind of made people think. But thing is, I don't necessarily sell those bottles that are in your typical liquor stores. But, the number one email or phone call I get on Fridays, especially from Aucklanders, is, where are you in Auckland? I want to come pick something up. And I say, I'm not in Auckland. I am in Cambridge, I think. But actually on Sunday, someone did drive down they were driving down to Taupo, because I do own a number of liquor stores, and the one in Cambridge fulfills what 8 p.m. orders. And this this gentleman wanted some Japanese whiskeys. So he actually did stop by Leamington store, went through what we had, and ended up buying $1,200 worth of whiskeys. But that's a step I aspire to go towards, but there are hurdles in place, as in my other brick and mortar stores I've been trying to desperately offload. But that will come when it comes. Yeah.
Okay. We did say that, Ash has sent me a bottle of whiskey. I thought it was, when I looked at it without my glasses, I thought it was pig whiskey, but it's peg whiskey. And Ash, I shall hold the bottle up, and you shall tell people what is it. Obviously, bearing in mind this is also on the podcast, so you'll need to be very eloquent in describing this, not just obviously viewing it. Peg whiskey, tell us about it.
So this is a blend of whiskey. There's two of them which we've started importing. We are importing our own whiskies now, but the name Peg, P-E-G. In Scotland, they say a dram of whiskey, a small dram or big dram, or the Americans might say a shot of whiskey. Well, where I come from in the northern India, we say a peg, P-E-G, a small peg or a big peg. And there's a bit of a brand story behind it. Back in the day, when the British were there, the Maharajas would import expensive whiskey and other liquors for the officers to sort of get favors for them for the kingdom. And he would only allow his officers, so this is the staff of the Maharajas, the Indians, he would only allow them 2 fingers every evening of the whiskey, which is kind of like a small peg. But then they started cheating after a while, and they started using the 2 so 2 fingers.
Yes, true.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a fantastic blend. It is kind of entry level, but I'm really proud of it. It has been put together by 2 North Indian ethnicity guys in Scotland. They live in UK, but they have put a Scotch blend together, and I want to support the boys. It is a very easy drinking, very fruity, very light whiskey, and at $75, it's worth a try. And I wanted you to have a whiskey because I know you wouldn't have a bottle of whiskey in the house. So, yeah.
Okay, well, here you go. This is the moment of truth. I'll just move the microphone away a second. You just want to see this.
Yeah, don't shot it. Just take it.
No. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just going to do it. The usual way. I might have been to how many of those whiskey events that you and Glenn Marvin might have put on, and I would go for the social or go for the networking. There's some marvelous people that would go to those events. I don't go for the whiskey, but I would sit next to Brent Norling, and Brent Norling, here you go. You just have doubles. You have doubles. You just have mine.
Yeah. All right, try it.
I didn't pull a face.
No.
It's actually okay.
It's quite fruity, very light, but it might still be quite high in alcohol for you at 40% because
What
you don't normally.
at 12:15? That's okay. I don't have much to do today. No, I do.
It's midnight in Scotland. It's midnight in Scotland right now, so it's okay.
Oh, I can just feel that warmth just hit the body. Quite different. Thank you very much. I was said to a friend of mine who actually took the courier delivery. I said, I'm going to give you a bottle of whiskey, but I might just tell them to bugger off, and I might just keep that in the cupboard. Back to from a content perspective, if you were kind of rolling out some advice, what secret do you think is? What's the secret to being someone who puts out content? Or we obviously realize we're promoting our business, we're promoting ourselves. What's that magic ingredient from your perspective, based on what you've done over the last couple of years?
You know, John, I mean, you and I talk quite a bit, and we come across a lot of friends who are starting on their journey. I think the biggest problem is people waste too much time trying to perfect the content. You know, I mean, I've told you before, I just put it out for a long time, and based on what people say, you sort of do more of what works, what doesn't work. You always look at the back end of how many people consume the content, or if you were actually straight up selling something, did it actually sell? But also, I think people sometimes just need a little bit of help. You know, there's a couple of people in Hamilton who I deeply care for, very successful, but very raw on LinkedIn, and they keep sharing this content from their own website, and they'll just chuck the link up. So I said to them, look, you could just screenshot it, put that up, write something about it, and put the link in the comments and have some hashtags. And, you know, it's just little things like that the help is available for free. Or you can do Glenn Marvin's LTV, which I don't want to go on the record. I think it's free, or it's very, it's not expensive anyway.
No,
it's not expensive.
No, it's not.
So you learn some good tips on how to master that. Yeah.
And you know, it's not just, I guess, in the LTV challenge, it's not just that's the kind of the fourth week if you're going to create content, but it's about your profile and during, you know, intentional engagement, and then it kind of gets to that content space. But I remember you talking about a sales video that you did for, I don't know, it was like 8 little, I think it might even been bourbon or something in a little box, and you did a video of it, and it was just a completely raw video. We could see you wearing barefoot in summer, and the video was all shaky, etc. And you sold out in 20 minutes.
Yeah, what?
Because it was raw. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't this beautifully shot, you know, promotional sales piece about these bourbons. It's like, here's some bourbons. Don't worry about the video. Do you want them?
Yeah. Just go take action. Yeah.
Imperfect action. Exactly.
Imperfect action. Yeah.
So if we're going to talk about 3 tips, if people wanted to start, where do they start? 3 things or 3 learnings that you've had, other than the ones you've mentioned already, for people to start creating.
I think number 1 tip would be, there's no shame in watching your competitors or whoever you perceive to be competitors. See what they're doing, and if they are winning, there's no shame in being inspired by what they're doing. You know, I think there's no shame at all. See what they're doing. Obviously, do it on your own, but don't just go copy them, because people will see through it.
Yeah.
Number 2, probably do a lot. You know, you just got to do a lot. If you're doing YouTube, if you're doing whatever you're doing, LinkedIn, Facebook, just do a lot of it, because you're within your community of friends and past business colleagues. They are potential customers. You know, you don't want to do it in an obvious way, as in, come on, mate, I want you to spend money with me. You know, that's desperation. But if you're not going to share it on your own personal channels and other places, people are just not going to know what you're doing, you know, and you're just standing in a corner with a flag saying, you know, I'm attempting to do this. And number 3, be open to criticism. You know, if someone tells you, because I did that to someone in Hamilton, and we're not mates anymore because he took offense to it. I said to him, your videos are shit, man, you know, because I can't hear you. You're walking around the lake. There's too much noise. You are giving a beautiful message, but I can't hear you. And, you know, your hands like shaking. And so there's like raw, and there's just annoying, because I generally can't hear or see you. So be open to the criticism. You know, someone's just trying to help you. if you ask for help, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, good. And I think that is a really key one, is ask for help. You know, I look back on some of the videos that I created. I remember I did something with Colin Oliver, one of my first videos, and I did it on my phone with a little lead microphone, shot out at the Hamilton estate where he works. And it was, I mean, Colin was great. The message was fine, but the graphics and the picture quality was, it was okay, but that was me wanting to obviously grow. And then comparable to what I do now is it's obviously shot in 4K and different angles, etc. So last question for you, and it's a question from this young man here, Mr. Vaughan Winiata. He says, what is your favorite whiskey? Now it's there's so many that you've reviewed, and I know it's sort of hard to pinpoint, but you're going to reach up and he's going to grab one and you're going to tell us why.
Well, I'm going to grab two. So this is my 2019 Whiskey of the Year, which is a peated sherry cask distilled in 1995, Benriach. And this is Whiskey of the Year 2020, which is a Teeling Irish whiskey, 14-year-old, aged for further 1 year in a New Zealand Pinot Noir cask. And I don't make any of these. I just drink and sell a lot of these. But the answer changes, and obviously I'm soul searching during 2021. What's going to be the next one? People, like when I say the 2019, I didn't want to, but people were asking me, what's the best? What's the most favorite? I was like, it's this one. I like it. But obviously these are single cask whiskies, which creates that charm, because once they're gone, they're gone. This is only 563 bottles. But a very smart man told me, if you're ever going to name something as your Whiskey of the Year, make sure you buy all of the stock. So you have a lot of it to play with. And I proudly share these at tastings and say, this is my most favorite whiskey, and I want to share a little bit of it with you. So,
and all of these whiskeys are available at 8pm.co.nz.
These two are not. They're gone. But there's a lot of these bottles here. So if you want to try them, come see me at a future tasting. So
cool. Yeah. And speaking of those future tastings, when is the next one?
I genuinely don't know, John. I think if anyone who watches my content, my life is very complicated at the moment. I'm just not getting the time consistently. Thank you so much for asking me to do this, because of that, I've allowed myself to stay home late today. I do have to go to the store later, but also spend some time with the kids. But till I can find some consistency and know with confidence what I'm doing in even 2 weeks from now. But I know Glenn, when he comes back, we want to do a networking whiskey event again at some point in August. So keep an eye for that. They always sell out, so don't get mad at us for just tiptoeing and then go, oh, I missed out.
Well, given that the peg whiskey that you've I think it is very tasty. Oh.
Nice.
And there's a big smile there. Excellent. Nothing at all. Ash Parmar, thanks so much for your time.
Oh, good.